We're in London.
Beautiful.
I love this city. You know, when you live in a country like this, sometimes it's so easy to just take for granted where you live, and when you come back and you take a pause and you're not doing business and you just breathe, you can see the beauty of why thousands and thousands and thousands of people come to visit the city.
Yes,
it's amazing, isn't it?
It's beautiful, and I loved the vlog that we shot here about identity.
Yeah.
And it just made me wonder, how do you manage to live your identity in the everyday situations when people don't see you the way that you see yourself, or people prejudge you straight away without even getting to know you?
I think for me personally, I have two choices. To either, like I say in the vlog, try to disprove what people think about what I'm like, what people like me are like, what people like me look like, what people like who sound like me look like. Or do I embrace myself and live my life to the fullest, run my race, and what they think or what opinions they have about me just don't matter. And I think you have two choices. You could either go through one route where you spend your life and your energy and everything that you have trying to disprove a position that you don't know where it's come from, or you embrace yourself and you just run. So I've chosen to embrace myself and run, and that's the message I tell myself every day. That's the message I teach my girls, and not in a way that I am not prepared to listen to other people's viewpoints. Yeah. Like I say, I think we could all learn or grow by other people's opinions, but there's just some stuff that people is fixated about a certain people group, about a certain sex, about certain type of people, whether it's north or south of England. There's just a certain way that people think that in my view, I lost a lot of time trying to convince people who, to be honest, I really have no business convincing. I really have no business convincing. So for me, I find it quite easy.
Yeah, but you find it easy now.
I find it easy now, and even when I say find it easy now, it doesn't mean I don't find it hurtful. But I think my recovery time from when somebody hurts me to my getting over it has become shorter and shorter. Because I just think it's in that gap that you give other people power.
Yes.
And it's too much power to give to somebody who doesn't even know the depth of how they've hurt you.
Yes. Yeah.
So and in that, I don't walk around being angry with them or pitying them or being angry with them. I just don't give it that energy or thought. And other people might think maybe I should, but I think for me it's my coping mechanism, and it's working fine.
Yes. As we were traveling in Europe, and we were talking a little bit about how people can be ignorant and come to a very quick conclusion about things, and also about you being a woman of color, how people can just have, their first impressions, and it was really interesting when we were in one of the countries.
In one of the countries, yeah.
And we went and talked to the reception guy. It was really interesting that it was Aaron and me and you, and the guy was mainly turning to Aaron and me and talk to us, and not so much to you. And to be honest, I didn't really give it much thought, but we were having a conversation in the car before that actually it happens on a very regular basis. People can just overlook or favor some looks, and then at that moment I really noticed it. But then you have that in your world all the time. How do you deal with it?
I think it's an acceptance that everybody has an intrinsic bias, and some biases don't feel nice, and some biases will favor you, and therefore they feel nice. And I think for me, I have learned to identify when those biases are working in my life, And in the incident that you talk about, because it happened so often, I didn't even notice that it had happened. But because we'd had that conversation, you were more aware of my world than you had. And I think in the vlog that I share is when I say people are so quick to step on the how things should be and not really pause on the why people are the way they are. And then sometimes I think people of color, we may come across too forceful, too angry, but then I think if people could just take a time to stop in the why, I think it would probably help us to go to the how. And I'm not saying that everything is right, but when you're hurting and somebody's trying to tell you to move quickly over the hurt so that we get to the how, I just believe that in life it's counterproductive to trying to build bridges. So if I'm really honest, I think this conversation, when I had that experience over Europe, it was interesting, but it was not surprising, unfortunately. And it's also not surprising even in our everyday today life. Should we accept it? No. But for me, I think it's not to give it the energy to make it grow. And I don't give it energy because I know who I am, you know, and I know whose I am, and I know that I've got a purpose greater than another person's opinion. Therefore, that doesn't make me slow down, pause, and lose my
and
my
it doesn't
focus.
defy you.
It doesn't defy me. No. But it used to. It used to, and I think if I look back, in the way that it crippled me and it slowed me, and when I look back, I spent years trying to convince people. They're still not convinced now, you know? So you can never be convinced unless you really want to. And therefore, for me, it's that sort of conversation I'm not prepared to have unless you really want to know.
And again, if you are just so weighed down and not losing, but using your energy and wasting your energy on those things,
you lose focus.
You never, step up in the middle of the capital of England, in front of a spotlight and speak up to be heard.
If that was my view, and I'm sure there are other people who wouldn't like the way it looks in order for it to be used in their world, and that's okay, but I'm doing me. And I think if that was my focus on, if I went to the capital, this is what they'll see the shell and they'll judge me, then I'd cripple myself. But I've got a race to run, and I've got things to do, I've got places to conquer, I've got hills to climb, and that's not going to stop me. And I think that if we lived life like that, I think
and
it doesn't stop you.
And one of the things that I have really enjoyed is that in this time we had viewers not only on the other side of the camera, but Zoe and Cookie came. I think it was just so nice for them to see what you're up to and how you make a difference in the world, how you are not shrinking back, but how you are stepping forward and stepping up and speaking up and making your voice heard. Isn't that just an empowering?
It's a very empowering thing, and I think that most of the reason why I do this is also not for my grandchildren only, but for my children, is to show them that they have an identity that's greater than what the world puts on them. They have an identity and a path and a purpose that's greater than another person's standards, and it's their job to run and to pick the people they need to pick up on their way, embrace the people they need to embrace, discard some of the people they don't need to be running with them, get rid of the baggage and just run.